Today's video is a roundup of 3D statue printing that I've done using my 3D printer over the past 9 months or so. Now, my first printer was an Antenna Mini, which I thought was pretty useful, considering it had a small print volume. But I was able to create these statues here out of it, which worked out pretty well for what I was trying to do. So let's take a look at those. Um, These first two are morning angel statues, and I thought those worked out pretty well. The details are a bit crude overall, as I found out, if you take a look close. But like I said, some of the detailing was not perfect, but overall, they look pretty good for what they are on a smaller scale. Um, the next one is Cortina from the Halo series, which I did in a matte PLA. And it's also a bit crude, but it has the right dimensions overall. This one is a mecha, which I printed out in matte PLA, and I kind of like the way it did, but matte PLA was kind of rough on that tiny little printer. I was also kind of surprised at how well it did printing out TPU when it came time to do that. So the next set of statues I printed out, I did on my K1 from Creality, which worked fine for around 4 months until it developed serious issues with motherboard type problems. I would get mysterious type XX errors. And at first I thought it was the extruder motherboard, but it turned out to be the motherboard under the main board, and I had to give up. But while I had it and while it worked, it did some interesting things. These are two Godzilla statues. The first one I did in PLA using a color change reel, which adds color to what you print automatically because parts of the roll are different colors. So this one went from being green all the way through yellow up until red, which I thought worked out for Godzilla. And I had some issues with the teeth, um, doing a fair amount of cleanup with the teeth. So, but I managed to do that. The other one, I printed out a smaller Godzilla statue in matte PLA. And what happened was the layers started to separate. As you can see, as you get closer, you can see the layers started to separate. I think because the matte um, filament was just too much for the printer itself. Now, I gave up on the K1 and I sidelined it because of the motherboard issues, and I replaced it with a Bambu Labs A1, which had a larger print volume and also did some pretty amazing things in terms of making statues. For example, these two here turned out pretty well for what I was trying to do with 3D printing. Um, Take a look. The Apollo Belvedere in Mango Yellow I liked. That came out pretty well, and this neoclassical statue in white PLA came out well as well, kind of having a marbly type of feel to it. Uh, One of the issues I had with these statues was the large volume of printing. The statue, I wanted to enlarge them to the largest size, and I found when I enlarged them up to the top limit of a 257 by 257 millimeter box that Bambu Labs A1 can print, I ran into issues at the top because the top layer did not print. For example, as you can see here, you can see the honeycomb surface. And that was because I had expanded it so far that the printhead could not actually move that far. I had to stop the print before it knocked the whole thing over, which would not be good. And I also had adhesion problems with this one. You can see how it's bowed up there, which meant that it was starting to come off the bed of the printer, and if it had come off entirely, it would have just fallen over and I would have gotten the spaghetti mess of doom that people see. But because 2/3 at least of this bottom was adhering to the print bed. I didn't have that issue, and it still stands up pretty straight now. The other statue printed out fine. This flat bottom is perfect, even though there's obviously a lot of overhang on this statue. But mitigated by the fact, this one printed out with a fair amount of supports, but I managed to do the cleanup pretty well. So that worked out really well. So this roundup kind of shows what you can do with 3D statues on your printers. They make wonderful decorations. They come out really nice. They, beautify the home. And it's one of the really interesting things that you can do is that you can start with just a roll of filament and then have these come out. So if you like this roundup, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel in every way as I start to grow this channel. The more subscribers I get, definitely helps things along. And thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy 3D printing like I do.